Welcome to episode 4 of Talking Collingwood. I'm your host, Robbie D. And with me tonight, I now can make this official. Age is now my regular co-host. Age, welcome back to Talking Collingwood.
Thanks for having me, Robbie. Be permanent now, so it'll be good.
Oh, look, a lot of good feedback, mate. Yeah, a lot of our listeners really rated you last week. And I've asked for you to be on as a regular, and obviously I've asked you, and here we go. Here we are.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so let's get the ball rolling. All right. So tonight we're just going to review our 70-point win against Essendon in round 24 of the AFL season, and I'll just run through the final scores. It was Essendon 3-13-31 to Collingwood 16-5-101. So, Age, it was everything that we asked for. We wanted a response. We needed to get our system in place, and we needed to make a statement. And regardless of who it was against, regardless of where Essendon is at, we put them to the sword in the first quarter. So before I run through the stats, I'm just going to get your thoughts about how you felt going into the game, leading up to the game, talk about the changes that were made as well, our ins and outs. So I'll like to hear from you about what you were feeling pre-game, and just review the first quarter.
I think they'll back. I think they'll back to their best. To be honest, they were clinical, super clinical, and Essendon did bring the heat. It's just the execution was brilliant by the Pies. Bobby Hill, man, he is a gem, dude. He's the link. He's got speed, mate. He's got vision. Him and Ginny, I think they're gonna do damage in the next couple of weeks. The first quarter pound out. Look, man, against Essendon, you just don't know. You know, it's a bit of rivalry, so they're gonna come out guns blazing. But the Pies were just cool, man. Just very cool. They weren't fast. They just did what they had to do. The ruckman did their job. Then again, Essendon didn't have a lot of players in either, but man, don't take anything out of it, because this is the top echelons of players around Australia. When they go in, they want to play, man. They're playing in front of 80,000 people, so no matter who goes in for Essendon, they're going to play. And the Scots, how they are. They're ruthless, man. They want to win. So there would have been none of that put in the queue and the rack stuff. They would have went out with a bang, but I think Collingwood just did their job in the first 25 minutes, kicked a couple more, I don't know, 3 or 4 more in the second quarter. And just, mate, after that, Essendon sort of just tried to stem the flow. They clogged up the middle. They didn't let Collingwood use the middle anymore. It was wide, but that's not going to work for teams. If they're going to go out leaving the middle opened up like that, they're going to get carved up pretty quickly. So they'll be chasing their tails, Robbie. That's what I've got to say.
Yeah, so that first quarter, Essendon only kicked 2 behinds, and we kicked 8-1-49. So we kicked 8 goals, and like you mentioned, we absolutely blew them away. And it all started from that first goal, that transition of play from the turnover. I think it was on the wing.
Yeah,
and
it was on the wing, and I think it was Josh Dacos. I think it was Josh Dacos handball to the goalie out of the clearance. It was a bit of a bouncy, scrappy ball, but mate, they're looking for him. They weren't looking for him a couple of weeks ago, but they're looking for him now, and he's elite. He's all Australian for a reason.
And and obviously the goalie was on the end of that chain of play, and he ended up kicking the first goal. And before we just go on for the rest of the game, I'll run through the stats. Goal kickers, Jack Ginnivan, 3 goals.
Bang.
Brody Mychek, 3 goals. Jamie Elliott, 2 goals. And then we had
Mm,
8 individual goal kickers after that.
mm. That's what I
All
mean. That
so
that that
yeah,
wasn't present for a few weeks.
yeah. So Darcy Cameron finished, with 1 goal, as did Josh Dacos, Jordan De Goey, Scott Pendlebury, Tom Mitchell, Dan McStay, Pat Lipinski, and Bobby Hill all chipped in with 1 goal each. So that means that we had 11 individual goal kickers
Mm,
in the game. And some of the other stats. Now, I've just sort of highlighted this. Tom Mitchell, 33
yep.
possessions, 7 clearances,
Yep.
6 tackles, 1 goal. I thought Titch was back to his best. We've been a little bit critical of Titch the last few weeks. I think, we're borderline talking about him even being rested for this game, but I'm actually glad that they played him because he's played himself into some form.
Yeah.
Jordan De Goey, 27 possessions, 1 goal, 4 clearances. Josh Dacos, 25 possessions, 1 goal. Scott Pendlebury, 21 possessions, 4 clearances. And the reason I've added Taylor Adams to this list, he had 19 possessions and 3 clearances, but there was a few other players that were around the 20 to 21 possession mark, which I didn't add in. But
Yeah.
the reason I've thrown Adams in here is because between Mitchell, De Goey, Scott Pendlebury, and Adams, they're our clearance machines, right? So
Yep.
between them, they ended up with 18 clearances between the
Yeah.
4 of them. Now,
Yep.
if that happens every week, we
Mm,
it will be very, very hard to beat, because when we actually get the ball out, we're clinical. As you said, our ball movement was second to none. Essendon, again, they didn't bring the heat. We didn't know what Essendon were going to bring, to be
yeah.
honest.
Exactly.
But they just, to be honest, the whole game, like, I sat row B, level 1, right next to the fence, and
Yep.
their players, like Essendon players, they just didn't. You can just tell they did not want to be out there. It was
Hmm.
as far
Hmm.
as I'm concerned, our intensity and our pressure was up. And when I go through the team stats very shortly,
Yep.
you know, we'll obviously we'll see, especially the clearance count, like, unbelievable. What
Yeah.
happens when you
Big
actually
turnaround.
win
Big
clearances.
turnaround.
But look, we did everything we needed to do. We started well. And then in the second quarter, like you said, I think we kicked the first 11 goals of the game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It no, it was, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it was 11 goals. Yeah.
Well,
And, and
basically they
and then the rest of the
they
game, it
kicked
was just
2. Yeah.
the rest of the game was just like, I'll be honest, like, we've all been waiting for September to arrive, and
Mm.
I felt like the rest of the game was we're just going through the motions. It was,
Yeah. That's all it was. That's
and
all it was.
and I'm gonna get to the next point. So at halftime, Finn McRae, who was a sub. So going into this
Yep.
game, um, Bobby Hill and De Goey came in. Finn McRae came in as a sub. Um, and I'm just trying to remember who went out. I know McQuarrie went out with a suspension.
Yeah.
Jacob Ryan obviously had the concussion. So those two made way. And Ryan obviously was concussed, and Finn McRae came in as the sub, and Mason Cox went into the 22. I'm pretty sure that there were the changes that were made.
Yep.
But all in all, I want you to just talk about Finn McRae, because you did mention him to me a couple of days ago. So, what was your
Yeah.
thoughts on his performance in the second half?
Well, I think I reckon Fly would have given a message of just be intense wherever the ball is. Like, just be a tackling machine, because clearly that was the message he got from the coaching staff. Because he came out and he tackled, man. He had the third most highest tackles in the whole game and he played two
Well,
quarters, dude.
looking at the stats now, he actually finished with the most tackles in our
For
team
Collingwood
for
in our
eight
team.
tackles in
But
our
I'm
team.
saying
Yep,
overall in the game,
yep,
overall, two quarters, he had the third most tackles. That
yeah,
that's
and
that's that's a beast, man. That he's a beast.
yeah. Oh, look, he looked at home. I know the game was sort of like the steam was out of the game by then, but
Yeah,
I
doesn't matter. You
really
still that's
believe that
effort.
he's got a
That's
spot
effort.
in this team in the future, like with Adams and
100%.
Mitchell and these players, starting to age. We need Finn McRae next year, especially, to start knocking on that door and to get into our best 22
Nah,
because,
he will,
yeah,
man. He will. 100. I've got full confidence that this kid, mate, he's only 21 years old, man. Right, he's 21 years old. He's a year older than Nick Dacos.
yeah. And he,
Let that sink in. Let that
and he,
sink in.
and he, and he, I think, was it Fly in the press conference? He mentioned that he wanted to go, McRae was a type of player. He wanted to go play in the VFL in that
Yeah.
elimination final that we played against
Well,
Richmond.
Hawthorn did it for years, mate.
Yeah.
Hawthorn did it for years. They let players learn their craft,
You,
in the twos.
well, as long as, obviously with the system we got in place, our
Mm,
VFL
mm.
program or VFL team,
That's what I'm saying.
they're
That's
playing the
exactly what
same
I'm saying.
system. So,
That's
and
right.
obviously, I'm not going to get into too much detail about the VFL, but we had a
Yeah.
big win
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
VFL, and all
Yep.
our players that were listed in the scene all performed. They all played well. However, there just hasn't been enough
Yep.
exposure from those players in the senior side this year to be even considering any of them now. Like, that's
But I
more for
mean,
next year. That's more for next year.
Geelong's having the same problem,
Yeah,
and now they will get exposed. So, as in, they will get those kids going through
yeah,
their system now.
yeah. Of
So
course.
it will happen.
Also, Jack Ginnivan, I thought he was brilliant. Let me just
Yeah.
share a story to our listeners because this happened early in the game. Jack Ginnivan took a mark near the 50-meter mark, not far from where I was sitting. This was Ponsford stand and Southern stand wing. He was on the boundary line. He took a mark, right? Earlier in the game, Guinea obviously, very confident, goes back, he wants to have a shot. Then you got
Yep.
Jordan De Goey hanging around the top of the 50-meter mark. And I could hear, like, when you're sitting that close to the action, you can hear the players talk. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
De
yeah.
Goey was screaming out, Guinea, Guinea. He was demanding the ball because De Goey was unmarked. If Guinea gave him the ball, De Goey would have just taken one step and launched it. He
Yeah.
probably would have kicked the goal from, there was no one around him. I don't know what Essendon were
Mm.
doing. But Guinea
Nah,
being Guinea, he just waved him off. And I'm not going to say that he used these exact words, but he
Yeah.
pretty much told him to F off. Right? And both of them were having a chuckle, having a laugh about it. And I
Yeah.
love that. I loved it.
Well, I mean, the culture in the club at the moment is at ease. They're at peace. There's no turmoil. There's no fucking gambling debts, or you're punting here, you're punting there, or he's kissing a girl. It's level. Everyone's on the same page. There's peace at the club. So that's a very, very good sort of sign if you want to look at it that way.
And it all starts from the top. Like, at the moment, obviously, Eddie and Bucks left the club and the board
Yeah.
changed. And Graham
Change
Wright
is good.
arrived. Yeah,
Change is good.
yeah, Graham Wright arrived at the club, and then he appointed Craig McRae, and Lepich jumped on board,
Yeah.
and
Man, when Graham Wright
Brendan
got appointed
Bolton.
at
Yeah,
Collingwood, man,
everything changed.
I was so happy, man.
Our club was very stale. It was like
It's just they
I
need a
know,
change, dude.
yeah, change is good. And
Yeah.
like I said, oh yeah, we've had a bumpy road the last, excuse me, of the last 5 weeks
Yep.
up until this game. But
Yep.
look, no team in the league has gone 24 games without having a bump in the road. Every club,
Nah.
even in the top four, Brisbane
Yeah.
had a bump in the road. Melbourne had a bump in the road, but they've ended up winning 7 of their last 8 games.
Yeah, but the
Port
media,
Adelaide, yeah.
the media look like, they smell blood in the water, man. So, if they can write a story about, oh no, the wobbles, oh, just out of finals, this is no, if it happened mid-season, no one even fucking talk about it,
And
but it's crazy.
and also, like, looking at the actual score from this game, considering we'd conceded over 100 points 3 weeks in a row, we kept Essendon to 3, 13, 31. So I thought defensively we were very strong. And that comes with pressure up the ground. So when we're pressuring the opposition, obviously, the way their ball movement and the way they move the ball inside their forward 50, our defense was organised. So, I thought, Jeremy Howe going back, that was always going to happen. I thought it would have been very arrogant of Fly to leave Howe in the forward line. However, obviously next week we're going to preview the qualifying final against Melbourne, and we're going to have a couple more guests joining us. But in regards to Jeremy Howe, I personally think he's going to go back forward especially against Melbourne. He'll probably take lever, play that defensive forward role. But that means what happens with Cameron or Cox? There's a lot of ifs and buts.
I don't reckon he will, Rob.
There's a lot of ifs and buts. We don't know what's going to happen.
I'll tell you now, because let's just say Moore and Murphy come back, right? Which I think they will.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
Right. And then if we go back to the old system of 13, 14 weeks ago, and I'm telling him, you got to have Moore, you got to have Murphy, you got to have Howe, Maynard, Nick Dacos, Noble. That is the heart of the defense. It's the same as saying, they're gonna put Lever up forward as a full forward. They won't do that. They won't risk that, and I don't think Collingwood will either. This is crunch time, Robbie. This is crunch time. This is when what worked then we stick to that structure.
No,
and if Nick Dacos comes back in, I've been trying to think of who's going to go out, Rob.
Well,
I've got names, and I've got scribbles, and I've got lines through names.
Well, that's something we're going to talk about next week, because we're going to have a few guests joining us. Where we're going to actually preview the Melbourne game and talk about what our best 23 looks like, because there's just so many ifs and buts, many different systems, and obviously, structure-wise, depending on the opposition, with obviously Melbourne, they don't have the big power forwards that Brisbane and Carlton do, for example. And even Port Adelaide, they've got Charlie Dixon and Finlayson and those type of players. So as Melbourne, their biggest threat will probably be Bailey Fritsch, Van Ruin up forward, and Pickett and those type of players, Petrarca. But look, we'll touch on that next week. What I want to focus on tonight is the fact that we obviously got through this game unscathed, no injuries, and we just found some form, and we sealed our minor premiership.
To do, man.
We're minor premiers.
Man.
At the end of the day, as Fly said, we got to qualify. That we did. We qualified. We won 18 games and only lost 5. So we've had a great season. Unfortunately, the bump in the road happened towards the end. So everyone's questioning us, are we going to choke? The collie wobbles, all that bullshit you hear from all the haters and the media and all that. But reality is, I don't know if you remember my first podcast. I flew solo for that one. But I mentioned it was after the Hawthorn loss. And I said something. And I said something in that podcast, which pretty much I said that let's see where we're at in 3 weeks' time. If we're in that position we're in against Hawthorn in 3 weeks' time, alarm bells would ring. But I said we had 3 weeks to get it right. We had that win against Geelong.
They cruised, man. They cruised. They did what they had to do. They got through it. They lost. Results went our way. We did what we had to do on Friday. Everyone's relaxed.
No, that's it. And I'm going to run through the team stats from the game against Essendon now, before we move to our next topic. So just some of the stats like overall from this game. Disposals, Essendon finished with 390, and Collingwood 396. Essendon had 220 kicks, the Collingwood's 229. Handballs, Essendon had 170, Collingwood 167. Inside 50 count, Essendon 39 inside 50s, Collingwood 56. Let me just have a look. So stoppages, I've gone through the clearance count, but centre clearances, we won them 9-7. Clearances overall 32-26. Stoppage clearances 23-19. And obviously, the clearance count was 64 to Collingwood and 52 to Essendon. I mentioned that earlier. So that's where the game was won. Contested possessions, 110 to Essendon, 124 to Collingwood. Again, these stats are so important because this is what they're the stats that we need to at least break even with or win to beat Melbourne.
Yeah.
Clearances, contested possessions, because that's where we got destroyed on King's birthday.
I reckon a big one is tackles inside 50.
I'll see if I can find that stat actually.
Well, we were 17, they were 6.
Well, there you go. That's our game.
That's massive. That's massive.
17
that one
to
there
6.
Is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
17
pressure.
to 6. Yeah, that's our forward pressure game, which has been missing.
Don't release it, man. Just don't release it. Make it hard for him.
Yeah, well, that's our, the Richmond Premiership side, from 2019 and 20. They were based around pressure. Obviously Craig McRae and Lepage have come from, under Hardwick's wing and implemented that system at Collingwood. And it seems to still be working pretty well to the point where other clubs are copying. So let's have a look if there's any other stats worth bringing up. Yeah, you're right. Tackles inside 50, 17-6. But overall, tackles, throughout the whole game was 59 to Essendon and 68 to Collingwood.
Yep.
And
we won the free kick count, Robbie.
Did we? Let me have a look.
We won the free kick count.
Yes,
Robbie.
we did. 14 free kicks to Essendon, 17 to Collingwood. Look, this game was one of those ones we just needed to get out of the way. Even being at the game, you were at the game, we caught up pre-game. The atmosphere it felt just like Essendon supporters, like a lot of them didn't turn up, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of them took off as well.
Yeah, they did take off. But overall, we had a job to do, and we got the job done. We got that, minor premiership finished on top, and now we move on to Melbourne. Qualifying final on a Thursday night at the MCG, and we're gonna roll over to the next topic now. The fucking AFL. I'll let you go first because I'm gonna go ballistic on this topic. So I'm gonna let you.
It actually doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me, Rob. It doesn't bother me. I don't know why. A lot of people spat the dummy about it, and I thought I'll be one too, but mate, I mean, it actually gives us. Hopefully, we don't lose, but if we do lose, it actually gives us more time to recover in case someone does get injured and whatnot. But you know what? Both teams haven't played a lot of Thursday night footy, but it's just going to be mate. They could play this on a Monday night. It does not matter. It does not matter. A lot of people sort of don't like it and whatnot, and I don't know exactly why. I still think we should have got a Friday night or a Saturday night at the G. I mean, preferably Friday night. But it doesn't. I would love to ask McRae if it worries him. I would love to. I honestly would say, what do you think about it? He would say the same thing. I don't think anytime, any place, anywhere, man, just bring it. Let's go. Let's just fucking smash them. Let's just fucking get it done. Get it fucking get it over and done with. Just beat them. Just get that confidence. Have another week off. And whoever comes to us next, just fucking do a job on them as well. I'm very confident, Rob. I don't know why. I haven't felt like this in a long, long time. But this team plays. This is a good team. That's all I got to say. I think they're a fucking good team.
What
So
about my next question? Are the Melbourne supporters going to turn up, or are they still in Mount Buller at the snow? Hey,
cheese
sipping,
and crackers,
sipping, sipping on
wine,
their red wine and eating their
French
cheese.
red wine.
Yeah, eating their cheese.
Yeah,
Um, red wine,
yeah.
cheese.
Bit of gout the next day from all the red wine.
Yeah, are they going to turn up? As
Who cares? I don't
yeah,
care about them, Rob. I don't care about them. I honestly don't give a fuck about who we're playing. Like, just fucking smash them. I'm sick of thinking about who we're playing, where we're playing, and who's in and who's out. I just I just want them to do what they did for most of this year. And like we played Melbourne, 10 weeks ago, whatever it was, on Queen's birthday or King's birthday now. Um, Mate, did you see the players we had out?
yeah. Well, we're talking about it today, actually. So from that game, let me just read out who didn't play.
Mm.
All right. So from King's birthday, we had no Jeremy Howe, no Jordan De Goey, no Jamie Elliott, no Steel Sidebottom. Markov came on as a sub. Jack Ginnivan was playing in the VFL, and Josh Dacos had the flu, but he still played.
Yeah,
I think he only got kept to 17 possessions. And
Robbie.
all Melbourne had was Oliver. He was out.
Yeah, Rob.
Um,
I got a bit of a left field for you.
what's
Left
that?
field question. Does Grundy play?
I think they're going to bring him back, but I want them to bring him back because they brought him back against Carlton, and that's the only game they lost.
I hope
Their
they
run
bring
of,
him back.
obviously in the last 8 games, Melbourne's won 7 of the
Yeah,
last 8. To be honest, they looked very impressive against Sydney, especially in the last quarter. All the balls in the midfield, like Oliver, Petrarca,
yep.
uh, Brayshaw, and Viney, they just got the ball out. And
Yeah, that's not going to happen in
yeah,
2 weeks' time.
yeah.
That's not going to happen.
So, and people forget that we've got the wood over Melbourne. We've beaten them 7 of the last 9 times. They even beat
Yeah,
them in 2021 when we were shit.
yep,
So,
yep.
I'm, I'm not worried. I feel like, when I left that game, King's birthday, yeah, I was disappointed that we lost, but I was thinking, I can't wait to play these pricks in the finals.
But you know what? We lost, but fucking we missed some chances in that last quarter.
Yeah, but look, to be fair, Melbourne missed a lot of shots that day, and they dominated us all over
They
the
did.
ground. Look, Melbourne should have won that game by about 5 or 6 goals, but they didn't. Do you know what I mean? We almost
Yeah, it
pinched
doesn't
it.
matter if
Yeah,
everyone talks about how many goals you missed, this and that. But mate, who cares? It's how much you put in.
yeah, we almost pinched it. But look, we'll be previewing this Melbourne game properly next week.
Oh man,
Um,
can't wait.
so we're at that stage now where, yeah, like it's the business end of the season, and this is where I'm gonna get back to the topic of the AFL. Now, I'm just gonna have
Hmm.
my little
Yeah, have your little rant on it, mate.
rant. All right. First of all, AFL. Last season, Geelong finished on top as minor premiers and requested to the AFL that they play the qualifying final against us on a Saturday afternoon at 4:40 in the twilight time slot.
Mm.
Why? Because they wanted their fucking hillbilly supporters to be able to make the game. Because a Friday night game would have been very difficult for them. Obviously, same as a Thursday night game. I do have a problem with us playing on a Thursday night because at the end of the day, I believe that if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So why is it okay for Geelong? We've got supporters in regional Victoria. We've got supporters from interstate. We've got people, that obviously travel a very far from distance to get to our games. And the problem I have with Thursday night, the time slot, first of all, 7:20. people finish work,
Is it
and
at 7:20?
7:20 on a Thursday night. So people finish work, right, at 5 o'clock. Not everyone works in the CBD. So you're gonna
I
have
didn't know.
people.
I thought it was 7:50.
No,
Okay.
all right, people are gonna be scrambling to get to the MCG on a Thursday night. Public transport in Victoria is a disaster, especially in Melbourne, right? Traffic's a disaster. You're talking about a qualifying final between, what is by far the biggest game of the first week of this final series. And
Yeah.
to plant us on a Thursday night, and look, everyone's like anytime, anywhere. I get that, right? But did our club push back? Did our club actually say, you know what? We're not fucking putting up with this shit. We're sick of being the fucking headline Friday night, Thursday night, like whatever night. It's always Collingwood is obviously gets all the clicks, all the views on TV, right? The way it should have been, Brisbane and Port Adelaide should have been the Thursday night game. Instead, the AFL has
Yeah.
made Brisbane and
I
Port
agree with that.
they're playing on a Saturday night. And guess what time they're playing? The same time as the Brisbane Broncos playing, because they're playing their qualifying final in NRL.
Mhm.
So it's like pure arrogance from the AFL to just put the Brisbane Port game neck and neck at the same time as the Broncos game.
Yeah. Who's
It should have been Brisbane, Port Adelaide, Thursday night, Collingwood, Melbourne, Friday night, or even then you've got the choice. St Kilda, GWS, Saturday afternoon, Carlton, Sydney, Saturday night, right? That gives the top 4 teams an extra day's break, or an extra 2 days break. That's the advantage. What advantage do we have? We're playing Melbourne. Yes, I understand about the recovery. I don't even want to think about losing to Melbourne because
No.
I believe that, the way this finals structure is set up, we are on the tough side of the draw. And you don't ever want to think about dropping this game to Melbourne, because then that means we're going to be in a semi-final against either Carlton or Sydney, and then more than likely have to go to Brisbane for a prelim. So you don't want to go down that road. This game is the key, the ticket to the grand final. This qualifying final is almost like an elimination final for me, against Melbourne. And putting it on a Thursday night, it's the time everyone gets home. I just thought, having Brisbane on that Thursday night would have definitely been the better option. But It's the AFL. They've got no common sense. Gil McLachlan, I don't know, how's he still there? Didn't he resign?
He was supposed to leave in August.
Yeah, well, why the fuck is he still there? Anyway, I'm going to bite my tongue because I'm going to get fucking angry, man. Like I said, everyone's like, who cares? People care because it's not bloody easy to get to the city by 7:20, but not for people that, live out in the suburbs or out in the country. Like it is, during the season, fair enough, but fuck, like stop being greedy, AFL. You got enough fucking money. You're $1 billion industry. You know what I mean?
Look, Rob, I didn't know it was at 7:20. That for starters. So that's a bit fucking stupid, to be honest. But you're right. They should have put the Brisbane Port game first because they're playing at the Gabba. There's, I don't know, 45,000 people fit in there, I think. But mate, the whole Australia would have watched that. The whole Australia. But did you say that they're going up against the Broncos?
They're going up against the Broncos. That's just pure arrogance. Arrogance from the AFL.
On the Friday night?
No, on the Saturday night.
On the Saturday night.
They've gone neck and neck with the Broncos.
So they're comparing dick sizes, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they're doing. 100%. Okay. So that's and then to top it off, they've given Carlton the Friday night.
You know what I mean? Understand? These rich boys in the AFL, yeah. That all the head honchos up there, they fucking, mate. They want to see who's got more weight. They want to see who can, who's going to get triggered first. Like if they do that, is the NRL? I can't remember the NRL's CEO. Fucking what was his name? I can't remember now. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But didn't they have a dig at each other a couple months ago at
Oh,
a
they
press
might have.
conference?
I've seen some stuff happening
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
media.
And then now Gills flexed his muscles and said, "Right, actually, cunt, you want to play that game? We're chucking Brisbane on the same night you have your Broncos. Let's see how you go."
Well, that's what's
That's what
happened.
they're
And
doing. That's
look,
what they're doing.
whether it's Collingwood, Carlton, or Essendon, whoever it is, right?
Yeah.
If you finish the minor premier, you should
Yeah.
have a say on what day and night you want to play. Simple as that.
Well, how can Geelong ask for it and then get it?
Well,
How?
Geelong's Geelong. They're the darlings of the AFL. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're heading towards the home stretch of this podcast.
Yep.
So pretty much like the week one of the finals, you've got Collingwood versus Melbourne on the Thursday night qualifying final, Carlton and Sydney elimination final, St Kilda GWS elimination final on Saturday afternoon. All the Melbourne games are at the MCG, and then you've got Brisbane Port on the Saturday night. So, look, we're going to touch on the Melbourne game more next week and talking about the whole final series in general. But, I'm just happy that we did what we needed to do against Essendon.
Yep.
We ticked the box, got the job done, and
100%.
let's try to just block this Thursday night fixture out because it's been doing my head in. But
what are your tips, Robbie? What are your tips for the
Collingwood to beat Melbourne, Sydney to beat Carlton, St Kilda to beat GWS, and Brisbane to beat Port? What about yours?
Yeah, pretty much the same.
I can't tip Carlton. You know what I think of Carlton.
I can't tip Carlton.
It's good to see him lose, and fuck, their lawyers. They got how much their lawyers got fucking Wiedering off. Did you see that? Surprise.
Oh yeah, fucking. They what's it called? Like Steve Zed and Steve Zed and Peter Tefka. Oh, they'll be very happy Carlton supporters. They just bought their memberships, I think, this year. They've been supporting them for about I think 35 years since I was born. So yeah, no, they're loyal. Yeah. They're loyal. How are you, boys? Just a bit of a shout out to them, Robbie.
No, they're good. They're good lads. They're good lads.
They're good lads.
Anyway, H, thanks for joining me again on Talking Collingwood, and thank you to all the listeners. Please subscribe. Definitely subscribe to this channel. We want to grow this channel, and we're going to be on camera next week.
Yes. Better do my makeup, Rob.
That's it. Anyway, we'll see everyone next week, and go the Pies.
Go Pies. See you, Robbie.
See ya.